Episode 139, Michael Woudenberg. Good morrow, and welcome back to the Realm. I am epic fantasy author J.V. Hilliard, your friendly neighborhood scribe, and I know many of us for the first time are digging into the use of artificial intelligence in our everyday lives. But if you want to meet an author that takes AI to the next level with some sci-fi and dystopian fiction, check out my interview with Michael Woudenberg. Michael, welcome to the Realm.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
It is my pleasure. You and I had a chance to meet through a friend of ours, mutual friend of ours on social media. And I have to say, you have one of the cooler backgrounds of any of the guests we've had on the Realm before. Tell our viewers exactly what the heck a polymath is and does.
So a polymath is there's an old phrase, jack of all trades and master of none, and it's normally used as kind of a derision, like too broad stroke. Well, in my career, I found that being that jack of all trades and master of none was more often better than a master of one. And so what I do, so I write Polymathic Being, which is looking for counterintuitive insights across domains and disciplines. But what I found in those spaces is that when you focus on a specific topic, like the experts, they end up getting so focused that they miss the forest for the trees. And the polymath starts to look across. Like, I know there's a million experts out there. That's fine. I don't need to be one of them. I need to be the person who can look across and figure out which experts we need at which point in time to make the best solution possible.
That is a great on-the-spot definition of that. And obviously, as a writer of sci-fi and a bit of dystopian fantasy, I'm sure your tech background has both inspired and informed your Singularity series a little bit. Tell us a bit exactly about AI in particular, and our current and future use of that inspired your series. And is this something that we think that we can kind of control?
I had the idea for the book, so it's the Singularity Chronicles, and I had the idea for the original book, Paradox, about 6 years ago. And AI at that point in time wasn't at a spot where it made a good literary foil yet. It was just too kind of abstract. When GPT-4 came out, suddenly people started losing their minds or going, the techno-pragmatists or the techno-optimists, the tech bros, and then you have the techno-pessimists, like the world's going to end, and I'm a techno-pragmatist. I'm like, we got to figure this out because those two answers aren't right. And so I found at that point in time, AI became a great literary foil. So the tagline for Paradox is, in the battle over advanced AI, will we lose our humanity or learn what truly makes us human? And so with AI, one of the biggest issues that I have with it is that most people are approaching it with no understanding of what it means to be human.
Well, first of all, it's a great tagline because I think it is really, truly at the heart of where we are.
Mm-hmm.
But let's talk about that for a little bit because I hear the end of the world, and I also hear this is a great functionality for us as authors and artists. I mean, people are out there. You have one side of the street, people complaining about how it's basically stealing my art and bringing it to someone else, and other people on the other side of the street are saying, no, this is going to allow me to write faster. As a techno-pragmatist, I'm guessing you find yourself somewhere in the middle there. Is that right?
Well, both sides are correct. So, I mean, we need the ethical use of AI where we're rightfully compensating artists. However, we also have to understand that artists steal shamelessly. So on the one side, yes, artists do need to be rightfully compensated, and we should not do plagiaristic activities. On the other side, we're already doing a lot of mimicry in our own art.
Yeah, your sci-fi novels, what makes you different than other sci-fi I'd find on a shelf at a bookstore on Amazon?
I would say it's a lot of the science fiction meets science fact. So what makes it a little different is it truly is a lot more here and now versus somewhere and then. And so I think it brings it a little closer to home in the science fiction realm.
That's really cool because you're tackling things that we're seeing right now. Before you got on, my producer and I were talking about the fact that this AI stuff is something that we're going to be, crossing that Rubicon with some of those questions. And speaking of crossing the Rubicon, you were an award-winning nonfiction author. What was it like crossing the Rubicon and trying your hand in speculative fiction? So
I would say I didn't find it that difficult. I will say the biggest critique people have of the book is that it reads, it's not so light and fluffy as some. So mine is a little bit thicker, let's say, than some of the others. But I I did not find it hard to do that, because I'd say it's the same sort of narrative structure. You're trying to find the hook. You're trying to articulate these things in the right way. It's not like you're writing a PhD type paper. My nonfiction is pretty easy access as well. So I didn't find that transition to be too hard.
Well, I'm going to follow up on that then. You and I have a similar background. I'm a defense and tech lobbyist. I've seen things happen in both government and politics that I've woven into my characters and into my scenes. Were any of your characters inspired by other books, and were any of your characters inspired by people in real life?
Oh, 100%. So there's a lot of stories. There's a lot of stories in there that are actually me and or my friends. Actually, fun fact, the newest book, Integration, my daughter was like, you should write a cat into this story. I'm like, I don't know how to make this work. And then like a chapter later, I'm like, I found an insertion point. I'm like, holy crap, my cat Pudding is now in the book as an AI. But that cat kind of different relief allowed me to actually tie together some plot holes and make the book flow a little bit better. But no, back to your point, the fiction side. So I use Ender's Game, one of my favorites, and Enderwigan in that schema of having the characters, Kira and Noah, looking at the problem differently, and that's how they figure out how to unlock the AI.
Look, we're coming to the end of our time here, but before I go into our lightning round, I've got one more question I need to ask you. What was the most exciting thing about becoming a fiction author for you? I mean, we've all written nonfiction stuff in our day jobs, it sounds like, but what was the most exciting thing about entering into this realm of speculative fiction?
I don't know, exciting's, I would say the most insightful thing that I learned, and this was something right as I started, was as a phrase, I cannot find out how to attribute it, so maybe I'll just claim it myself right now, but it was good writing should surprise the author. You shouldn't be surprised when you're writing nonfiction, right? But in writing the fiction, I would say I let go a little bit on trying to lock it down. The relationship between Kira and Noah, I thought it was going to go one way, but they kept crossing and weaving and crossing and weaving, and it made the story so much better than I expected. So that was kind of one of the more exciting aspects, is realizing that when you can let go of the story a little bit and let the story flow, you can be surprised along the way. And that, I think, is exciting.
Cool. Well, look, we only have a few more minutes, so I'm going to do this lightning round with you. I got 3 or 4 questions for you. So, and you stole half of one of mine already. So the first one, I think, is a softball. Terminator or Ender's Game?
Ender's Game.
Of course. So as a follow-up, Michael, to Ender's Game being your favorite, why is that?
Well, I think Ender's Game really does a lot in the space of the psychology of understanding kind of who we are, but also like I said, the reframing, the ability to kind of look at these things differently and really challenge our preconceptions. Terminator is a little bit more, it's that dystopian. There's a lot of warnings in there, but the Ender's Game motif is what actually saves the day.
Gotcha. And by the way, I love Terminator, but Ender's Game is a better book. Terminator, better movie. Yeah, I hope I didn't offend you.
No. I would agree with that completely.
Yeah. So I know authors are all kind of quirky guys and gals. Name one of your odd writing habits that you engage in that maybe others will look at you kind of strange about.
I'm a binge writer. I will sit there and collect notes and things like that. Like I explore my essays, I explore a lot of topics in nonfiction. And then when I sit down and write, I just end up writing. So I wrote Integration in, 18 chapters in 21 days, 90,000 or 100,000 words.
That is one heck of a haul, my friend. That is one heck of and very impressive, I might say. Last question for you. So you are the host of a sci-fi novel award, and you're handing out an award for the best sci-fi novel of all time. Which 3 authors make your card as nominees, and then who wins and for which book?
Oh. That's not a lightning round question. Oh my
I think
goodness.
It's cool. It's a good question.
It is a good question. So I'm not going to give you an Asimov or a Orson Scott card. I'm going to give you some Substack folks who are authors that you probably never heard of. One is Catherine Elaine, who writes The Gravediggers of Orpheus. Fun, kind of flash fiction, really good work. Another one is a guy, Ika Wright. He writes a series called The Space Annals, and a lot of, again, shorter science fiction. And then another one, this is a guy that I've really come to appreciate, Keith Hayden. He both writes little novellas as well as kind of is really engaged in the sci-fi world to help kind of other authors. So he's reading Paradox right now and kind of commenting as he goes and giving some feedback.
Oh, cool.
So sometimes we overlook these sort of authors for the ones that are the big names.
Well, look, we're at the end of our time, and I really appreciate you coming on. But before I let you go, tell everybody where they can find you and where they can get your books.
Yep. So Michael Woudenberg, I write nonfiction at polymathicbeing.com. It's a Substack, and if you subscribe, you'll just get a weekly essay. I cover all sorts of counterintuitive insights across multiple domains. It's my polymathic side, as you can tell. Then the books are The Singularity Chronicles, which you can find at thesingularitychronicles.com. It's also on Amazon. The two books are Paradox and Integration, which the tagline is, Freed from a Body, Can AI Overcome Human Limitations?
Well, Michael, thanks again for being on the Realm. We really appreciate it. And let us know when book 3 comes out. We'll have you back on.
Perfect. Appreciate it. Love it.
Thank you, sir. Well, I warned you he was going to be a great interview. And if you want to find Michael's first 2 novels, go check them out on Amazon and other places where you can find his stuff. And speaking of second books, Vorden's Lair is now an Amazon bestseller. So I want to thank you. And those that want to come out and get my first or second or third or final book in my series could find me in Raleigh, North Carolina in July at GalaxyCon. Come out and get a copy of book 4, Echoes of Ghostwood, if you've read the first 3. Or for the first time, I'll actually have a 4-book box set for everybody that wants to have that as a collector's edition. And to our followers, thanks again for lending us your ear. And until next time, I am J.V. Hilliard, and may your gods go with you.